Hello, today we have Christopher Gerteisen, Executive Director and CEO of Nova Minerals Limited, trading on the NASDAQ under the ticker NVA. Chris, welcome to the show.
Nice to be with you, Craig.
Now, Chris, for viewers who may not be familiar with Nova Minerals, can you give us a brief overview of the company and its primary focus in the gold and critical minerals space?
Nova Minerals, we have the Estelle Project here in Alaska, large project in terms of land area, 200 square miles. We've been focused on the gold, and we've been very successful in that realm, almost 10 million ounces to date globally, and internal to that, economic resources of in-pit at $2,000 gold price of over 5 million ounces. But in addition to that, we've also had very exciting discoveries now of a lot of these critical elements, and the main one there is antimony. And so that's really another opportunity that we're pursuing here in Alaska at the Estelle Project.
Now, as you mentioned, Chris, that flagship project, the Estelle Gold Project in Alaska, spanning a massive nearly 200 square miles. Can you tell us more about the significance of this project and tell us why is Alaska's Tintina Gold Belt such a promising location for gold exploration?
Indeed, the Tintina Gold Province is one of the most prolific belts in recent decades for gold discoveries and gold production, over 200 million ounces now documented here in the belt. This is the land of the intrusive related gold system. This is the land where we've all heard of it, the Alaskan gold rush. Now we're starting to realize where all that gold came from. And so the Estelle Project just sits on the southern end of that belt. And we've been called, it's a trend, it's a gold trend, and we've actually been called the Carlin of the North. If your viewers are familiar with the Carlin trend in Nevada, you know, this made companies like Newmont and Barrick. And what we're onto here at Estelle is certainly very similar in terms of scale and potential resource endowment. And we've already seen that. So 10 million plus ounce deposits, not uncommon in our neighborhood. And that's certainly what we're onto at Estelle. That almost 10 million ounces that we've defined to date is across two deposits, Corbell up north, which is a bulk tonnage, very large system. And then down south on the property, RPM, which has really become the jewel in the crown, very high grade system there. And the company intends to focus. The beauty of the project is that it has great optionality in terms of how we attack this, how we develop it. So certainly the project ultimately is a large scale project that the major companies are after. Not many of these left in the world. But in this current environment, we also have the opportunity just to go after RPM first, was our current strategy, lower capex, high margin, smaller operation, and then grow ourselves into the much larger project with that cash flow on our own or potentially a strategic partner, and we're certainly on their radar.
Now, you mentioned the RPM deposit. I've got a question about one of the more exciting developments there. It's that potential for a scalable operation at RPM. Elaborate on that. How's it going to bring early cash flow to the company, Chris? And what does it mean for long-term expansion plans?
Well, if you look at the larger project, we are currently doing a feasibility study. And with gold prices at record highs, we expect very positive economic numbers from that. The problem for a smaller company like ourselves right now is that the capex is around $400 million. And so that might be a bit more than we can chew at this stage going it alone. So that's what I was saying, is that we have the optionality just to start smaller and go after RPM. And it's a much lower capex, you know, orders of magnitude lower than that 400 million capex. And with that, we can definitely handle that type of a construction finance or, you know, bridging finance and construction finance to get there. And the margins are very high. We've currently been drilling, and we're coming up with a resource update before the end of the year. And what we're looking at is our target there is 500,000 ounces at 2 grams per ton. And internal to that, a much higher gram core zone of about 150 to 200,000 ounces at 5 grams per ton. Grade and a deposit of that tenor is very, very high margin. And so we're looking at, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, of free cash flow for the company over those initial years. And with that type of revenue, we can grow ourselves in that much larger project. Now, those are the two deposits we have. With the project, we have 20 other known prospects at various stages of advancement. And we continue to advance those with our exploration programs and make new discoveries. Over the years, we'll be continuing to drill those, adding to our resource inventory. And so all that presents future upside for the project as we move forward, both in terms of the gold. And as I mentioned, we also have, in some of these prospects, significant copper, percents of copper, hundreds of thousands of grams per ton silver at some of these prospects, antimony, and some of these other critical elements. And so that all presents future upside. We can start small and grow ourselves into the much larger project, which is our current strategy.
Chris, it just sounds amazing. Earlier in your interview, you mentioned antimony. I want to go to that now. Antimony emerging as a key part of your focus, particularly with the Stibium and Styx prospects. Many of our viewers may not be familiar with antimony, Chris. Can you explain what that is, why it's important, and how Nova Minerals discoveries position your company to benefit from the growing demand for this critical mineral?
Certainly. We're a gold company, and we found gold at these prospects, Stibium and Styx, and you might say the antimony found us. And so I'm not sure if your viewers are familiar, but antimony is one of the most strategic and critical elements known to man that most people don't pay attention to or even know about. It's used in all the clean tech, green tech, defense tech, and the key one there is it's used in all the munitions. We produce no antimony in the United States, totally import reliant on China and Russia, who have captured the market. And believe it or not, for our munitions, we import antimony. China has just announced that they are curtailing all antimony imports. This has drawn major concern and interest from the Department of Defense to establish and fully secure U.S. supply chains for antimony, and they see our project playing a large part in that, and we're pursuing that opportunity in the form of grants, these grant opportunities to get into production as soon as possible.
Now, in light of those restrictions, Chris, how are you planning to fast track that Stibium prospect to production?
The great thing about what we've discovered here is it's right on the surface. So we observe massive stibnite being the primary ore mineral for antimony, right on the surface. And so being also the project on state land, so no federal land or native corporation land, the permitting is much more streamlined. The scale of an antimony operation also is much smaller scale than the gold operations. And in these separate prospects, it's separate from the gold deposit. So we can take this on its own path, standalone, much smaller scale, very high margin. Again, very lucrative right now. Record high prices for antimony currently at $25,000 a ton. And it's very accessible right on the surface. And so we're working with the DoD to get grant funding to do exactly that.
Looking ahead, Chris, what are some key milestones investors should be watching for in the coming months as Nova continues to advance?
We've just completed our last round of drilling at RPM. News flow coming in the coming weeks here with all the drill results, and then a resource update before the end of the year. And so I already mentioned the target, 500,000 ounces at 2 grams per ton, very high margin material. Then also concurrently, we have a lot of these technical studies. We're laser focused on delivering a feasibility study to the market by next year, in 2025. That's a key milestone in this business. That opens up all kinds of additional funding opportunities. In the interim, there's also this antimony opportunity that I mentioned, where we're looking for DoD grants to commence production on that within the next 18 months.
Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Is that okay?
Go for it.
All right, now what's the essential value proposition? Sum up for us. Why should investors take an interest in Nova Minerals right now?
There's no bull market like a gold bull market. Perhaps, maybe the antimony bull market currently happening might be even better than that. But currently, if you look at Nova Minerals, it's an exciting time. We just listed on the NASDAQ. If you look at our North American peers with similar assets listed on the North American exchanges, these companies are running 3, 4, over 10 times, some of them, our current market valuation. And so that we believe coming onto the NASDAQ, once people appreciate our story, the scale, the opportunity with the gold and the antimony, once people appreciate that story, it's an opportunity for a re-rate for Nova Minerals. Currently, Nova Minerals market cap sitting around $25–30 million. And this is going into a gold and antimony bull market. Big opportunity for the investors to get in early.
It's the Alaska Gold Rush and maybe Antimony Rush for 2024. Great meeting you, Chris.
Pleasure.